What it do? What it do? Back again. Got another episode for you guys. Coming with some heat. We're just gonna talk some current NBA stuff tonight. Christian with me as always. Say hello to the people.
What's the people?
Um, I don't know if you caught the Milwaukee Bucks Charlotte Hornet game the other night, but man, that's that was a thriller. That's gonna be game of the year competition right there.
You think so?
Oh yeah, that was so far that was one of the most entertaining games all year, easily. You had the reigning Finals MVP going toe to toe with this young kid who's hitting shot after shot. And then not only him, but his running mate Miles Bridges, both of them coming up clutch, dude. But at the end of the day, the MVP is the MVP.
Yep.
Let me tell
No.
you,
Uh-huh.
that game was thoroughly entertaining. It was so far. I think that was probably the most entertaining game of the year.
I don't think I can argue with that. Anytime I get to see the Greek Freak go off for 40, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists against Lamelo that dropped 36 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds, fam. That's a great night for basketball. Like you saw two of its brighter stars just absolutely know what time it was. And they showed out. They showed out. It's refreshing for me seeing LaMelo's progression in year two, just because I am a Lonzo fan. I am a Ball family fan in general. And the one thing I was worried about with LaMelo was he gonna have the same quote unquote Lonzo motor or like low energy? Like Lonzo's a great player. He's a really good player. You put him on any team, I believe that team just got better. But sometimes I just feel like he's a little low energy for me. But LaMelo clearly this year has shown me, yo, I'm not like my brother. Like I can be the face of a franchise. I want to be the face of a franchise. So it's exciting for me when I see this out of a ball.
It's crazy because I never really had the question with Lamelo, honestly, and I think it's because being in Southern California and just the limelight that he grew up in, and you kind of, I don't know, we saw his personality, from when he was 14 years old on, and to me, he was always the one
Yeah.
that stood out with like the moxie, the like confidence to he was kind of wilding out as a kid, but like he always had he's the kid that pointed at half court and said, "You want me to shoot this?"
He
Like
was. He went viral. He went viral. He pointed and told them and shot his shot.
yeah, so like to me, I never really worried about the moxie part about him. To me, it was always he was just such an unknown because we saw him playing, at like places that we just didn't know, like Australia and Lithuania. Like we didn't know who the hell he was playing. You know what I mean? So that was the question mark, is how that would translate. And also, like if you watch his Australia tape, it was a lot of like he would just jack shots up. Like he wasn't. He it didn't seem like he was taking it seriously. But then he hits the NBA, and all of a sudden, all the stuff that you liked, the passing ability, the quickness, the handle, um, it shows, it translates, and then to tie it in with, oh man, he can shoot at this level too. Because in Australia he had like a 25% 3-point percentage, jacking up shots, but in the NBA he's been pretty decent. And then you get a game like against Milwaukee, and he hits 8 of them, and it's hard to stop this kid, man. And he's just fun, dude. He is fun. And man, he there was a play where he caught the ball down low, but he
Mhm.
caught it with his back to the rim, and there's a man coming over to him, and he just casually takes it, hits it behind the back, bounce pass to the man in the corner. Like, and I'm like, who's doing this?
The game looks incredibly slow for him at times. And there's moments where like there's no way this dude is in his second season. There's just no way. But how he also commands his team's attention. Like you can tell they love playing with him. He's making others around him better. And if you're Charlotte, man, you got to be ecstatic because you hit on the right one. Like you got that guy now. He's the best draftee they've got in franchise history. I would feel that comfortable coming out and say, obviously Kobe Bryant, there's a trade on draft night, but for a player they kept and whatnot, Lamelo's that guy. He's the face of the franchise, and it had to be good for the league to have two small markets and to have those two go at it like that. That's got to be good for business for the NBA, for a Charlotte market and Milwaukee to be prime time like that and just take the league by storm with that performance. Like you said, that could very easily be, that could wind up being the best game of the year. I don't believe it will be, because I don't believe any second year player is going to have that type of stage. I think we have the, there's definitely a game out there regarding either KD, Steph, or LeBron, or maybe Giannis involved as well. That will probably end up being the game of the year. But this is definitely going to be one of the most memorable games of the season for sure.
Well, I think sticking to the Lamelo point and kind of you're saying, second year player, the thing that it got me thinking, right,
Mm-hmm.
is for this younger generation of players and fans, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if there's a player that he could honestly become. I mean, depending, how he develops and stuff, like the most popular player in the league. I could see him leading league and jersey sales because he's so made for the social media, the Twitter, the Instagram 30-second clips. Uh, he like I said, all the young kids that growing up with him have seen him forever, and he's always had the limelight. The stage is not too big for him. I could honestly see him with all the great talent we have, Zion and Doncic and all these young guys. I could really see Lamelo being kind of the torchbearer as far as the most popular player in the NBA.
I'll say this: I definitely think you're cooking with something there. I see him, and I see two other players that could have that same kind of impact. And I see John Morant and Trey Young right there. I was
I want
not.
to give a real quick. I want to give a shout out to Anthony Edwards as well. Once he leaves
I'm gonna leave
Minnesota,
him. Yep. I was about to say the only thing holding that brother back is I think. I mean, for our avid listeners, they know how I feel about Anthony Edwards, but that organization, leave, fam. As soon as you can, get the hell up out of Minnesota. I don't care where you go, really. Just don't go to Minnesota. But just get out of there. But I'm gonna leave him off just for that reason. I would say those three though: Lamelo, Trey, and Ja. What I saw last year was when these dudes got to the postseason, I wasn't expecting their popularity to grow as fast as it did. What Trey
mm-hmm.
did last year in the postseason, he's a superstar. Like if you want to talk about appeal, he's box office. People want to go see Trey Young perform. Like
He's
he's a
definitely
little
exciting,
maestro.
man. He's exciting. He's a showman, and
He's
that's
a
the same thing we get with
showman.
Lamelo, and even Ja a little to a certain extent. But
Mm-hmm.
it's the showmanship. Lamelo will do some unnecessary stuff, and even got him on Shackton the other night. When
It had to. It had to.
he tried to bounce the ball and do a reverse dunk. Like, come on,
He's
man,
lucky.
you ain't got that hops.
He lucky the King broke the internet with that performance in Indiana that night, because that would have got a lot more fire and that would have been trending a lot more. But because the King was grabbing his balls on prime time, it kind of got swept under the rug. What Lamelo did, that was so bad. Because when it
Hey,
happened, I was going back and forth. I was on Twitter. I'm like, yo, are people talking about this? But it was just so much Braun media out there that it kind of got scuffed under. I'm like, Lamelo. What was that? But I just love how he just shakes it off.
and then just on the basketball aspect of it, though, this man, if he could consistently hit threes like this, I don't know how you stop him because I have yet to see a defender keep him in front. Like he gets by people whenever he wants. He's got a really nice handle, and his first step is really quick. Um, his finishing around the rim is night and day compared to his brother because he really does excel at absorbing contact and still finishing. Right, he'll jump into the guy, kind of the big man, and kind of absorb it, but it kind of gives him that little extra hang time to lay it in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty impressive, man. So if he's hitting threes, I don't know what you do with him because he gets people involved. and the shot he hit at the end when it was to tie it,
Mm-hmm.
dude, that was pretty incredible. It was like that was like Dame Lillard coming off the screen, full sprint, catch, pull up, hand in the face. Didn't matter, dude. It was all net too.
And I'm gonna say this. I didn't know Charlotte had a home court advantage like that. Every once in a while, you get those generational players, and you're like, okay, Charlotte, they got some fans out there. They're like, when I see him play at home, I've never seen a Charlotte crowd. I didn't know their crowd could even look like that. I didn't know that the arena could light up like that. He's single handedly changing life in Charlotte. He's changing life. And uh, I'm just happy for that franchise, to be honest with you. Like it's not cool. You know, I'm a sports fan. You know, we all have our teams and we have lows, you know, for a few years and we're really bad. I'm just really happy for the Charlotte fan base that they have something they can root for and they can get behind because they got a special one. They got a real special one. And yeah, those three, and Jaw, the funny thing with Jaw is I mean, his play's electric. And what I saw from him in the postseason, I don't feel like we talk about it enough. What he did to the Utah Jazz, that was crazy. That was against a one seed. Like, Jaw went nuts in the postseason. He beat Steph in an elimination game. And to go a little bit off of the court, he kills social media. He kills it. Like, he understands what social media is. We get his opinion on things that we wouldn't have thought we would have got, you know, a typical NBA player's opinion. So it makes you feel like you know him a lot more than you probably do because he understands social media. He gets it. You know, so he may not be bowing in MSG like Trey, but he gets it in another capacity with social media. He kills it. I'm not sure if you saw it, but it was a photo of him and one of the officials, one of the NBA refs, and he quote tweeted it and was like, "Me and Gucci Mane," because the ref, there's a brother in the league that's a ref, and he looks just like Gucci. It
And
was
it's on the
classic.
chain with a V cut. No, it's on the chain with a V cut.
Oh my goodness, league's in good hands, man. With those three, and honorable mention Anthony Edwards because that he's electrifying.
Oh, 100%, man. And sticking to your Charlotte point, you know, you got to be happy for this team because he's not doing this by himself, guys. Miles Bridges really came onto the scene. And
Oh
even
my
in
god,
this game I'm talking about, like he was coming up with clutch bucket after clutch bucket. He even almost hit that half court shot. That was 2 inches
I thought it,
away from going
I
in.
thought it was yeah.
He's been showing out. Gordon Hayward, everyone clowned them for that contract, but I think it was a solid pickup because you know when you're a bad team like that and you're young, it's a good idea to bring in a solid vet, especially someone like Gordon Hayward who's really an overall player who can play within the team and still be effective. I think that was a good signing for them. He gives them good minutes.
And what I like about that trade, like what you said with the whole vet thing, he's not, like you said, he's not just a typical vet. Like you got to have an old guy in there to show them how to spend their money. He's been a dude that's been the franchise face before. That carries a certain different weight when you have a Lamelo now. He can actually talk to Lamelo. He's been the best player. He's been the franchise player. So like that's crucial for a guy like Lamelo. We may not hear about the impact now, but you always hear the story years later. What vets were in your ear. I have to believe Gordon Hayward is definitely that guy.
Yeah, most definitely. Moving on to the Milwaukee aspect of this, Giannis dominant. You mentioned his numbers earlier, 15 to 24 from the field. Like this team it's finally getting healthy and they're kind of getting their stride now. Before tonight, they had won 8 straight. We're still, um, we're still in the earliest part of the year. I think they're the fifth seed currently. I want to say somewhere in that range. But
I believe
they're
the I believe they're the 3 seed.
three seed. Okay, so that makes even better sense because in my mind, watching them like play in this stretch, they are still my favorite to come out of the East. This is a juggernaut team defensively, 1 through 5. They're all there, and Giannis at the end of the day can just impose his will on anybody.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that Grayson Allen pickup was huge for them. I'm not sure if we mentioned it during our earlier pods, but he's been performing for them. He's another guy that can spread the floor. I hate they got rid of PJ Tucker. I'm a really big fan of what PJ Tucker was able to bring to that team. I think they had him a little expendable with Bobby Portis, them keeping Bobby Portis, and Bobby's also a rough rider, so he fills that void. But Grayson is a better shooter. He's an upgrade of a player than PJ Tucker. So
Grayson got a
now
dunk last night or that game, dude.
Grayson, man, I'm not gonna lie, like the tripper from Duke, I didn't think he was gonna be anything on the next level, but he's definitely a lot better than I thought he would even be at this level. So credit to Grayson Allen. He's a hooper. He's gonna be a dude. He's gonna be around for a while. He's gonna have a career, especially if he's stroking it like that uh from deep. But no, I'm definitely a fan of Milwaukee. I think we had earlier pods. We were talking about like their championship hangover. I haven't been worried in the least because at the end of the day, I believe Giannis. He's the most dominant player in the conference. KD might be a better player, but as far as impacting a game on both sides of the ball, Giannis is the most dominant player in the conference. And when you have that guy, and you got other dudes, and Chris Middleton showed a lot of people a lot last year in the postseason. So they're going to be right there, and I would agree with you, Scott. They're my favorite to come out the East as of right now.
The Middleton point is really important because it was going on 3 years plus where we're just wanting more from him.
Four.
Four, yeah, like I said, 3 plus. Like we were wanting more. And last year, he really was able to come up clutch when they needed him because he's kind of their only option on the perimeter that you
Mm-hmm.
could say can consistently get a shot off.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to be that guy. And you could tell, I think, especially in this stretch, how much confidence he's gained from that run last year. Because now when I watch him in the fourth quarter, I don't have those questions anymore because I'm looking at him and he looks cool. Like he's been there, he's done it, and he even showed up last night. He had a big three. So yeah, Milwaukee, they're I think they're the team to beat in the East. Still got a lot of season left, barring health and stuff. Drew Holiday, he's kind of still in a slump, so hopefully he could get it going. But yeah, it was a great game to watch, man. I gotta love it. Another great game we had. I don't know if you caught it. The battle of the 1 and 2 seed in the West, Phoenix Golden State. Were you able to catch that one?
Yeah, I watched that one.
Um, any thoughts on that game, boss?
I mean, I don't know. If you're a Phoenix Suns fan, I guess you might not be too happy with this, but I don't know. I don't know. Phoenix is just so boring to watch for me. They're just really boring. They're like, I saw someone say this. I'm not sure who it was. They're reminding me of when the San Antonio Spurs were at like optimal levels in the regular season, back around like 2005 ish. Um, Great team basketball. I don't know. I don't really take them serious. I think the Warriors, I think Steph had a bad night. It's going to be interesting to see how he looks tomorrow night. I don't expect him to look as bad as he did the other night, shooting what was it, 4 for 21 from the field. I don't expect to see that performance because I think they're running it back tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think if you're a Phoenix fan, you got to be concerned with Devin Booker's hamstring. That I think that's definitely something you want to just pay attention to because they've won a lot of games right now, but it's just going to be interesting if they can stay healthy. I think health is a big deal for them because we know what Chris Paul represents to that team. And if Chris Paul goes down, I got news for Phoenix Suns fans. Y'all not winning anything.
Yeah, Suns winners of 18 straight. It's impressive, man. I don't care. You could be boring 18 straight, it's 18 straight. What really impressed me about them in this game, defensively, man, they're really strong because they got some wing like Crowder is really good on the wing. Mikal Bridges, though, this guy might be a first team All NBA defensive player this year. He's got like 8 arms, dude. You can't get anything by him in the passing lanes. He was switching on to Steph all night. It was kind of a key thing to watch. If you go back, you can watch the highlights if you like. Monty Williams pretty much matched Mikal Bridges with Steph's. Anytime Steph was out there, Mikal Bridges was out there, and they were just throwing him on there. And what's really cool about them is Aiden. I don't know how he's not paid yet because what he does defensively is something in today's league that is really valuable. The ability as a big man to step out to the perimeter and he was hedging on pick and rolls 10 feet beyond the 3 point line because it's Steph Curry, but he had the ability to because his mobility, and it's really impressive to watch this team defensively.
I'm gonna
Um,
say this.
go
We
for
might
it.
have to do another pod after tomorrow night. I'm just not gonna get too hyped up in my analysis because Steph tomorrow could end up hitting 16 threes and Mikal Bridges could look like he doesn't belong in the league. Just because it's a back-to-back between the two teams, I need to see what game two looks like because it's so close together. And I definitely think Steve Kerr and his coaching staff saw what Monty threw at them, like you were saying with Mikal Bridges and how they were matching up. I definitely think it's going to be some more chess that's going to get played in this next meeting between the two come tomorrow night. So on the next pod, I will give much more analysis on what I've seen since we would have see them play each other twice in the past 4 nights. So that's my consensus on that. Because Steph, we can say all this about Mikal Bridges, but if Steph goes 16 for 21, like we know he can, I mean, we're not having this discussion.
No, I think it's a fair point, and honestly, like you're not wrong at all. But
Because he
to
has some
me,
looks that just were he had looks though. They weren't he had wide
they
open looks
missed.
that he's
Yeah,
been
no, they
knocking down.
definitely missed some wide open looks. But
He had bunnies at the rim in the paint that it was in his head. I think the game was so big. I think he got a little wrapped up into it just a little bit.
no, 100%. But and I think a lot of that has to do with how uncomfortable Phoenix was making them, though, because you think about the Warriors offense, right? It's a lot of read and react. And
Yes.
when you're doing a lot of read and react, I don't know if you saw, there's a couple times where like Draymond thought Steph would be somewhere and he threw it out of bounds, nobody, and it looks dumb because it just it was the wrong read. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's a lot of credit to what Phoenix was doing, in my opinion. And
absolutely.
I 100% expect adjustments by the Warriors because I think they're smart enough team. That coaching staff's really smart. Those guys have been together for a long time. They can make the adjustments. So definitely expect a new game on Friday. Um, but if I'm not going to discredit Phoenix either. I think they have a lot of credit for that. They
Yeah,
caused over. I think Golden State had over 20 turnovers.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, they got the credit they needed for it. They got a W. Like, I mean, I'm not going. They beat them at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I would if they weren't meeting again for another couple weeks, it might be different. But with them, I'm not sure what the mindset was of Golden State going into this game, knowing they would see them again. I definitely want to see what they look like. Because this game, basically, what I'm saying is, I feel like Phoenix played almost as well as they could. Again, we need to mention Booker did leave the game early. So credit to them even more so. I think that's probably the most impressive thing about this is that they were able to continue on. You and I both know Booker isn't what makes that team go anyway. It's Chris Paul, but nonetheless, to have your dude go out like that and continue to play in the second half, I think that was huge for them. But yeah, I could just see Golden State absolutely mopping them off the floor tomorrow night. So I'm just not going to get too wound up in it.
All right, switching up here. I don't think I've talked to you about this really since the news came out. Um, we're getting old, dude. We're getting old, and I think a lot of times to measure that is, in our youth, some of the stars in this league and how they've progressed. Kemba Walker falling out of the rotation in New York. Blake Griffin falling out of the rotation in Brooklyn. Uh, and at first when I heard this, I was kind of like feeling this type of way. I was like, man, really? Like, but then I really thought about it. I was like, dude, like there's a whole new generation of players. These guys have been in the league for 10 plus years. They're not all stars anymore. They're at the twilight of their career. Um, just something to note. I was kind of shocking.
Do you have the stat for his plus minus?
Kemba Walker.
Yes.
I had it the other day. I haven't looked. I don't have their stat, his stat specifically in front of me. I know I when it happened, I was looking at their lineups, and just an overall starting lineup is bad, dude. It was a minus 100 compared
Yeah,
to their bench units.
it was pretty bad. But we are getting up there, man. We're getting up there. It's funny because there's some dudes who they're having like a resurgence late in their career. Because LaMarcus Aldridge, he's averaging almost 20 points in his last 6 games. So he's kind of getting, rejuvenated a little bit. We'll see how long that lasts. But man, I saw that about Kimba, and I remember how he was tearing it up at UConn, and what he represented in Charlotte, and to see him fall completely out of the rotation, I was a little shook by it. I was like, I don't care how bad the numbers are. I think I heard the Shaq, Kenny, and Charles talking about this. I disagree with him being out the lineup and being out the rotation. That's just me. I think Coach Tibbs, I think he's tripping. I think he's absolutely tripping. He has
So,
to. Uh-huh.
so I got the stat for you real quick. The lineup of Kemba, Fournier, Randall, Mitchell Robinson, and RJ Barrett is overall minus 6.1 points. Pretty much every other unit they throw out there is a positive rating. It's not crazy. I think taking Kemba out of the starting rotation is all right. I don't know if I would have gone with Alec Burks necessarily. You got quickly there. I wouldn't even minded Derrick Rose stepping into that spot. I think that team trusts D Rose, and I think he's proven that he could still kind of lead a team and run the offense. Thibs, in my opinion, he could be on the hot seat, dude. Honestly, and it's not his fault necessarily. I think it's expectations were way too high for this team coming in. The New York media is crazy, and I think it's well noted. But this team, to me, has kind of just come back to earth, and they kind of are what they are.
I think he should be fired.
Oh, you
I
would get
think
rid of
he's
them?
yeah. There's no. I'm just analytics is cool and everything. He cannot be out your rotation. I'm sorry. He's still a starter in this league with the talent that they have on their roster. I like Alec Burks, but Alex Burks is not starting on any other team in the association. He's not. Kimber Walker, like, you're a coach. You're a coach for a reason. Figure some shit out. Like, you got to make it work. He cannot be getting DMPs. He can't be out rotating. Like, you cannot have that. You can't have that. Like, there's no excuse there. That looks like someone that, if you can play defense to the level that I want you to play defense, I don't have any use for you. It just reminds me a little bit of Frank Vogel, a little bit, with not being able to really adapt and put your players in the best position possible. I have a problem with that.
I mean, you're talking about traditionally. I mean, you've been on record saying Vogel's the best defensive coach in the NBA, and I think Thibodeau has carried that crown for many years of his career as well. So it's surprising, but I think this is a point that I try to make in our preview podcast. I think defensive, when you're talking about defense, like personnel matters, man. I don't think you could ignore it. The personnel matters. And I think Vogel and even the Knicks, to an extent, the personnel just isn't quite there to be a defensive top team.
you know, let's take this point a little deeper. What it shows me is that I don't believe the GM and the coach are talking to each other in the offseason. Because to go along with your point, Vogel's willingness or unwillingness to really put Monk out there, we understand Malik Monk has never been called a defender. Rob Pelinka went out and got this guy. Clearly, Vogel's not feeling his energy, even though he leads all the Lakers in plus minus. There's a disconnect there. Thibodeau, you knew what Kemba Walker was when he was on this roster at the start of training camp. Were you not in communications with their general manager? What's going on here? Because this guy is on your team. You're supposed to coach. You, at that point, you're putting a middle finger up to your GM and be like, I'm not playing this guy. He doesn't belong in my system. That's what that looks like to me.
I think that's actually a really good point. I never really put two and two together, but I mean, I kind of did with the Vogel thing. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was weird to me, the team that Palinka was putting together, knowing who your head coach was.
Because
Um,
Vogel ain't rocking with some of these lineups, bro. I don't care who Rob Pelinka got. I'm not playing this dude.
yeah, but to the Knicks point, I think that's actually fair. And even more reason to suspect he's on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, on the Brooklyn side of things, we mentioned Blake Griffin falling out of the rotation. Marcus Aldridge, his little resurgence of late. They're currently number one in the East. Um, Kevin Durant has been amazing
Kevin
this
Durant.
year.
Kevin
He's
Durant.
been it's incredible. I'm happy for the guy coming back from an injury like that and to see the performances he's been putting up. With all that being said, though, I just don't believe in this team in the long run, man. James Harden is not quite, um, he doesn't look like the best shooting guard in the league anymore. I think that's fair to say. You have pretty much Patty Mills giving you as many minutes as he's been a traditionally off the bench guy. He's giving you almost 30 minutes a game here. They get, they just not too many pieces. They're not very deep.
They're not. I'm currently looking for the quote of Steve Nash. I'm not sure if you saw it today, but it was in regards to Kevin Durant. I think he was asked a question about Kevin's minutes, and Steve Nash, I'm paraphrasing, of course, was basically like, "Well, what do we do? We play him less and win less, or what? What other choice do I have?" And I was like, "Wow, that's because he's like, I believe he's been playing like 40 minutes for the past week or so." And this is a dude that, to your point, um, we're happy and we're excited for him that he was able to come back from a torn Achilles. But I don't think at any point he needs to be averaging 40 minutes a night before the All Star break. That just seems a little excessive to me. And Steve Nash is saying, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I'm a little cautious there because we know who Steve Nash came up under, which was kind of Mike D'Antoni, and we know D'Antoni don't give a damn about minutes. He just will run a dude out. So I'm a little concerned for Kevin Durant when I hear his head coach say, "Well, what do you want me to do in November? Play him less and we win less?" Like, you're a coach. You need to figure some shit out because this dude just came off of a torn Achilles. He's not a young pup anymore. I don't want to see Kevin Durant playing 40 minutes every night in November and nights of November or early December.
And it's not just him. He's obviously getting 40 minutes, I think. But LaMarcus Aldridge, even he's an older player, and you're playing him 33 minutes, 32 minutes a night, and at the center even. And he's not traditionally known as like a rim protector. He's not very
No,
mobile. So defensively, you're kind of compromised there. You're giving Harden, who's been out of shape since 2018, the new rule changes and stuff. Dude, the guy's like he's getting 40 minutes almost. So I don't know. It's kind of weird because they drafted Cam Thomas, and I was on the record saying I thought it was the steal to draft. This guy's a walking bucket, in my opinion, coming into the league. And he hasn't really been getting as much burn as I expected early on in the year. Hopefully, you see his minutes get an uptake. Bruce Brown has his minutes been cut.
he's
He's
Bruce
get some,
Brown.
yeah, he's not giving you anything on offense, but at least he'll give you something, just like maybe 20 minutes on defensively. So I don't know. I don't think Kyrie's walking out of that tunnel anytime soon. I'll be interested to see if they try to make any kind of moves closer to the deadline.
I'll say this. I have a question for you. I don't have the answer, by the way. Do you know the last like um, older championship contending team that really gave a role to a rookie or a really young player? Because I can't. I want to know, like, and pick your brain, like, where do you think that stems from? Is that James and Kevin Durant understanding Cam Thomas is a good player, but there's certain mistakes that maybe dudes of those caliber they can't have on the court with them. You know what I'm saying? Well, like, I don't know of a contending team that's going to have a rookie be getting minutes like that. I've never seen it before. We know LeBron has little to no use, and if I had it my way, THT would not be getting minutes and he'd be off this team right now because I don't think THT even fits to what the Lakers are doing. But because we're so injury riddled and Palinka decided to put a team together with no forwards, he has to he has to get playing time. But THT doesn't fit. I'm just looking across the league, like, young players typically don't get into championship contending rotations unless it's due to injury. So
Um,
it could be interesting. You might see them make a trade at the deadline. It's going to be interesting.
as far as like rookies go, on the Raptors,
Mm-hmm.
what year did OG Anunoby come in? He
Mm-hmm.
2017. Yeah, so not even him. He was like in his third year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even then, we know they would have lost, obviously, but they were a contending team. They were a finalist, but he was in his like third season already. So It's just interesting. So Cam Thomas, I would not hold your breath to see him get minutes this year. I think they might be trying to make a move. I just don't think they're gonna have that dude in no lineup unless they're forced to.
I feel like they kind of are because we just mentioned how thin they are. And you got a guy like I might as well like develop him. You got 82 games to develop him and create good habits. We always talk about these young guys and they come into these bad situations and they develop habits that create losing, and when they become in the prime and professionals. If you got a young player with the ability like that, why not kind of breed him where he's not really relied on because you got two elite scorers in front of him, but you still are kind of creating these championship habits so that when it comes time, you can rely on him to an extent, because you're not going to be asking too much from him. You just need enough.
Hey, I'm with you. Fam, I think a lot of these coaches, like I said, figure some shit out because I do not want to see Kevin Durant, and I'm putting emphasis on him, even though I should probably throw some emphasis around James Harden as well, because Steve Nash can attest to this. When you play for D'Antoni, he's going to run you into the ground. And James Harden's played a lot of minutes. He played a lot of minutes in Houston. I'm just not comfortable with seeing Kevin Durant off of an Achilles tear playing 40 minutes. So if that means Cam Thomas and you got to figure some shit out with some lineups, make it happen. But get this man some rest earlier in the season. Like you said, Scott, it's a marathon, not a sprint. If this was in late April, I wouldn't be criticizing him playing 40 minutes. That's what you pay Kevin Durant and James Harden for. You pay them to go out there and give you those performances. But early December, off an Achilles tear, I'm cool on that. Steve Nash figures some shit out. Get Tam Thomas acclimated. I know James Harden said that that injury last year really messed with his training and his rehab to get back into shape this season. I don't think that's a good look for him because every time I saw him, he was out somewhere with a little baby turning up in the off season. So, and we know what he looked like last season, healthy coming into the year. So, for Kevin Durant's sake, he better hope James get these calls and he get in shape because it's going to be a long season for Kevin Durant.
Fair enough, man. I think that was pretty good there. How about the West, dude? We were kind of talking off air about just how wide open this conference is. You have
It's a
your
shit show.
you got your top three seeds. You got Phoenix at 19-3, Golden State 18-3. Utah, I think, is solidified right there at 14-7. And then after that, it's kind of just a jumble from 4 to really 10. Um, there's a lot of opportunity here for some of these teams. I look at a team like Minnesota. They're a team that I would try to make a move. Why not? If you're on that fringe, try to do something. Memphis, I think they'll be there at the end. The Lakers, I think you made a great point earlier. Off air, you're like, as bad as this, you got to be happy with. It could be a lot worse, and you gotta think how bad this conference is for the first time in 15 years.
I'll put it like this: if the Lakers are looking like this, and the West looked the way it looked at the start of the 2019 season, we'd be in trouble. A healthy Kawhi, a healthy Denver, um, we would be in we would be up shit's creek. But with no Kawhi, with the Clippers, and it looks like the new coaches in Dallas and Portland. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. They're only separated by about 2 games. It's a shit show in the West, to be honest with you. Lakers could rattle off a few games and they could find themselves very easily a top 4 seed. So I know you said off air, Christian, they're a playing team right now. They're playing like a playing team. And I said, Scott, there's about 9 teams in the West that look like a playing team right now. Like the only teams that look formidable, you mentioned it, was Utah. They've got camaraderie. Phoenix, they've got camaraderie. And Golden State, their core's been kept together. Everyone else can be had. And I don't see it. Only team I see that could actually beat the Lakers 4 times in a 7-game series is Golden State. They're the only team in the West I see that. Because Portland just looks terrible. Dallas, I don't trust Dallas whatsoever. They don't know what they're doing with Chris Stapps and Luka. And what am I supposed to do with that? Like, who's actually gonna beat the Lakers in the West besides Golden State?
I think Utah could give them trouble if the playoffs were today. I think.
Well, I think 90% of the league could give the Lakers trouble if the playoffs started today. I'll tell you that. I'm talking about May.
Well, we'll see what the team looks like. There's a lot of time from now, and these teams aren't gonna all look the same. Uh, there's still some big trade pieces. We've talked Ben Simmons too many times on this podcast, but like there's some pieces to be had out there. I think the guys in Indiana, Sabonis, Turner, maybe one of them could get flipped. Uh, and you look at some of these teams, Portland. I think they're desperate to make a move. We the Dame stuff is well documented, how he's wanted to leave, but not really, and they're trying to figure something out for him. They brought in a new coach. Just nothing's really working for them though. So there's a lot of moves that could be made from now to then.
And a lot of injuries could be had as well. It looks like dudes are falling each and every day. We got John Morant with a sprained knee. He's out indefinitely for a few weeks. I don't know if we've reported on the news with Michael Porter Jr. He's having back surgery. His season's likely over. Look across the league, and we got Booker with a hamstring right now. We I don't know, man. There's just a lot. I'm just happy that the Lakers are getting their injury woes. It looks like out the way. I know we've got an update on Trevor Ariza. I guess he's finally like up and about. He's shooting. He's doing drills and whatnot. He's expected to be back soon. So it looks like we're starting to get healthy, because no team's been more injury riddled than the Lakers the first 20 games of the season. So, mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say like they caught a break with this LeBron COVID thing too. He's came out. He's gonna be coming back tomorrow. He had
Woo!
potential to miss another 10 days. Man, anytime that team's missing LeBron, it's bad news.
Yeah, it's not good news whatsoever. So it's very early, and I'm definitely not concerned. The West, I still don't think we know what the seeds are going to look like for the West. I don't think we're done with that. I think a lot of I have no clue what's going to happen with Denver. I have no clue what's going to happen with Portland. I don't know. Like it's wide open. So I like it though, because for the longest time I feel like the last like 7 seasons or so, the West pretty much figured itself out. There were no surprises. This is the first time we're a quarter into the season, and I don't know what's going to happen in the West. So I'm looking forward to that. I just hope everyone can stay healthy, or I would just hope the Lakers can stay healthy.
All right, man. I think that's about to wrap it up. Then it was a little quicker episode today, but I think we hit about everything. Anything else you wanna bring up though?
No, 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 no. Nothing else really. Just Laker Nation. We got this. We got this. Oh, by the way, y'all need to pay attention to Evan Mobley, best rookie out
Yeah, not just best rookie big man in a long time.
in a long time. Evan Mobley's gonna be the truth, guys.
Yeah. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.